welcome to the Aries full moon. I'm going to start us out by just lighting a little incense here, giving us a little cleanse. As I invite you to settle in with me. So it's about going on 8 p.m. Sedona, Arizona time. The moon is rising. And I don't know about you guys, but I didn't sleep at all last night. The full moon energy kept me up. That rarely happens to me, but it happened last night. Oh well, syncing up to the cycle here. So I'm going to start by just talking a little bit about the Aries full moon and the energy of that. And in doing so, I'm going to start by saying that one thing that you can do is look to see where the Aries full moon is hitting your chart. If you've got your natal chart, you can look to see where the Aries sector is in your chart. Mine happens to be in the first house because my rising sign is Aries. And so for me, like if you are an Aries or if your rising sign is Aries, this full moon is going to be particularly impactful for you because the sun is all about self-expression and the rising sign is about your sense of identity as well. And Aries is all about individuality, self-expression, independence. Aries is a strong motivating type of energy. So for those of us who have our sun in Aries or rising in Aries, as I said, you're probably going to feel this a little bit more than people who don't have that. However, we will all feel this at some level within our being. And if you'd like more information on that, just look to see where the Aries sector of your chart is. And that will give you some deeper insight around perhaps, how you're feeling these energies right now. So the other thing that I want to say about the full moon in general is the full moon typically is a time of having our awareness illuminated, which is connected to wherever we've been putting our attention over the past several weeks and several months, right? There's always cycles within cycles. But if you're a person who sets new moon intentions every new moon, then this full moon is going to illuminate, bring awareness to, highlight, activate, energize whatever those intentions have been for you. The full moon is also a time where we can have a discharge or an expression or a release of energy. And so be aware of that as well. So this full moon is happening in alignment with an asteroid named Chiron. And Chiron is very connected to our sense of our healing journey. And so sometimes it's connected to our woundedness, our sense of woundedness as well, because our woundedness and our healing journey go hand in hand. And so with the full moon happening in Aries conjunct Chiron, it serves to illuminate areas of our awareness that have been focusing on your healing. And it's a time where we can really make some headway along those lines, so to speak. Aries, again, is a big driving force. So with the Chiron blended with the full moon energy, it can also bring in a motivation to make some headway. And we do have some other energies astrologically happening right now that are supporting that. Namely, we've got the sun opposite this full moon in the sign of Libra conjunct Venus. And so that brings in a harmonizing, balancing energy. Now, this theme that we're seeing highlighted right now as we're in this full moon energy is a theme that's been building over the past many weeks while we've been in Libra season. So Aries is all about self, self-expression, self-identity, where Libra energy is all about engaging with other people. It's relationships. It's desiring harmony and balance within relationships. So this polarity that we have going on right now between the Sun conjunct Venus in Libra, supporting us all and finding balance regarding relationship, and then the Moon in Aries, bringing a little bit of energy and awareness to our individuality. And so this is the dynamic that's been sort of building over the past several weeks. And it feels now that it really is about achieving that balance, right? That balance between your individual path and your path as it relates to your sense of connection with others, your loved ones, friends, family, co-workers, what have you. So we definitely have that going on now, and that energy is going to be impacting us at least throughout the duration of Libra season, which is happening for about another 2 weeks. And the other thing that I want to talk about here is having to do with Pluto, because Pluto has been retrograde since the end of April. I talked a little bit about this in last week's video. When Pluto goes retrograde, it brings us into a deep healing journey. And I'm bringing it up because Pluto is it's preparing to go direct in combination with this full moon energy, and with Pluto also making a trine to Mercury right now, which is in Virgo. The energy of this, so trines are harmonious aspects or alignments that happen with the different planets, and Pluto stationing, preparing to go direct, trining Mercury in Virgo, lends itself to us all really being able to, like, we can start making sense of whatever this inner journey has been that we've been on regarding our healing, especially with Chiron in the mix here. And we're beginning to feel like we can just kind of wrap our head around things. We can have clarity of awareness, especially with Mercury in Virgo. It's a time where we feel like we can start organizing mentally, senses of clarity, details, things like that, connected to what our inner healing journey has been. So here's the thing. I'm going to talk about this more in a moment, but we're getting ready to go into Scorpio season. And Scorpio season is naturally the best time of year to do deeper healing work. So we've got, again, these cycles within cycles where we've already been on a little bit of a healing journey with Pluto retrograde and some of the other things that have been going on. Now it's like we're coming up for a little bit of a breath of air, so to speak, where we can integrate, we can have forward movement, we can begin implementing some of the awarenesses that we've had while we've been on this inner journey. We do have several air trines happening with this full moon, and then happening throughout the rest of October. In fact, we have a grand trine energy lining up in alignment with this full moon and dialing into like exact trine configurations over the course of the next few days. And so the trine is in air signs. And right now, the trine that we're experiencing is between the Sun in Libra, which is coming into exact trine in the next few days. We have Saturn in Aquarius at 18 degrees, and we have Mars in Gemini at 22 degrees. And so this air grand trine is deeply activating, illuminating in alignment with the full moon, deep senses of clarity, awarenesses, it's creative thinking, it's communication, it's learning, it's studying. And so this is the first of 3 trines, grand trines, that we're going to be experiencing this month. And ultimately, this means that it's an amazing time for us to feel like we can finally start implementing processes, making headway based on projects that we've had in mind, especially projects that require critical thinking, communication, things like that. Projects that are digitally oriented as well. So many of us have, including myself, with all the things I've had going on, have experienced, also in alignment with the astrology, some delay energy. Things that we thought we were going to be able to get done a few months ago, now we're finally able to get some of those things done. And again, amazing time for anything that is requiring creative thinking, teaching, learning, studying, communication, all of that whole realm of energies is showing up for us just in time for us to begin to go into not only Scorpio season, but on the next new moon in 2 weeks. And I'm going to be talking about this over the course of the next few weeks. We have a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse coming up. So we're coming into not only Scorpio season, but we're coming into eclipse season. So eclipses always serve to bring to the light of awareness that which has felt hidden or obscured. It's illuminating truth, basically. So you can see how we've got this sort of expanding, and I don't want to say contracting, but with the air energy is definitely more expansive energy. It's an energy that compels us to be social and engaging in the world. And then as we're coming into Scorpio season, there's this depth, this is going within. So we've got this, I want to expand, I want to go within, I want to expand, and I want to go within. And so we've got this sort of theme happening over the course of, I'll say, like the next 2 months altogether, and it's all starting with this full moon. However, I do want to say that even though full moon is not usually the time where we have new beginnings, that's usually new moon, because this full moon is in Aries, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and we have that grand trine, and we have Pluto stationing direct. This is very much a time of a beginning of what can be like a whole new cycle of experience in your life, like on a bigger picture level. And that feels really good. In fact, we actually do have, when I'm looking at the chart here, we have a kite formation beginning to shape up. It's not exact quite yet, but it is going to be within the next few days. So a kite formation in astrology is when you have a grand trine, you've got 3 planets making trine aspects to each other, all in the same sign, and this one is in air signs, and then there's an opposition that happens. So in this case, the opposition is the moon and Chiron, which is what brings in that element of having illuminated awarenesses and epiphanies of awarenesses, I'll say, around things that we've been working with on our inner healing journey. And when a kite formation shows up like this, it literally looks like a kite shape. It focalizes energy in a particular direction. And we want to look at, the planets that are involved with the trine as the energies to harness. And so the energies that we really want to harness right now is that Saturn in Aquarius, which gives us a little bit of a grounding, anchoring type of energy. and then Mars in Gemini. So the one thing we want to look out for with Mars in Gemini is Mars in Gemini can be really not really thinking before you speak, so to speak, sporadic, spontaneous, and there's nothing wrong with being sporadic and spontaneous, but we want to do so responsibly. We want to be really conscientious and think things through before we act. We definitely don't want to be taking hasty action, and so this aspect happening, this placement with Mars in Gemini gives us that warning, like, okay, let's put a little bit more thought into how we're intending to act before we just hastily or carelessly leap into action. So being grounded in your awareness, being grounded in your body, which Saturn helps with, being aware of how the healing work that you've been doing over the past few months with Pluto is coming into a focus right now with the full moon aligned with Chiron, and moving forward in the direction that's based on your healed self, ultimately, is what it comes down to. I really feel that. And then again, as we're in Scorpio season, starting in the next few weeks, we'll have other opportunities to refine those things having to do with our healing journey. This might look like awareness is happening, integrating those awarenesses, and then deeper layers of awareness is happening, or subtle little details, points of refining. But all the way around, I guess, to summarize the energy that's going to be influencing us for this entire week is, on one hand, an energy of illumination and integration around healing work that we've done. It's inspiring us on those more practical levels of our life, and feeling like we can actually make headway and achieve like a forward momentum with whatever especially our goals, ideas have been that require mental energy, thinking, concentration, and communication. And yeah, preparing to move into that eclipse season coming up in a few weeks, which I'm of course going to be doing more videos about. But for now, let me take a peek at a few cards here and see what else wants to come up. I'm working with my Universal Rider Waite deck today. And I'm just going to tune in and give the cards a few shuffles here. And let's see what else wants to come up for us in regard to messages connected to the full moon energy. And I'm selecting the cards right now. And let's start by getting some additional insight as to what's being illuminated for us, not only on individual levels, but collectively speaking. What's being illuminated? It's the Four of Pentacles, and it did show up reversed, so I'm going to talk about that, but this is what the card looks like right side up. So when the Four of Pentacles comes up, it can be an energy of, it's an energy of containment, basically. And this energy can help or hinder us, right? So containment can look like being really diligent around preserving our own boundaries. It can be diligent about honoring what we need for ourselves, for our physical health and well-being. It can be honoring and being really diligently aware of what we need to sustain or support ourselves, physically speaking. But the challenge of that is it can border into fear-based clenching, right? And so in the reverse position, this is an energy ultimately of sharing. It's an energy of expansion. It's an energy of trusting the flow of affluence and abundance in the universe. It's about sharing your own personal energy. So the pentacles are earth energy. So sharing resources, being in your generosity is something that's showing up, I feel intuitively, as a mindfulness practice that we can do that enables us to integrate whatever churnings have been happening internally. Interacting, engaging, sharing with other people, sharing your generosity, being in your exuberance, expansion, and radiance gives us that ability to really feel integrated in the aspects of us that we have come into a new sense of centered and groundedness with. And so let's take a look here and see what else wants to come up. I'm just going to pull these two cards because they felt like they wanted to come up. And it's the Eight of Swords, which I'll talk about in a moment, and the Justice card reversed. So one thing that I'm noticing here is that there's reds and oranges in these cards, which has to do with the lower two chakras, the root chakra and the second chakra. So root chakra is also very connected to this Four of Pentacles that just came up because it's earth energy. So it feels like it's really important for us to stay grounded during this time. It's also helpful for us to be in our creative inspiration, which right now, with all of the air energy that we have going on, our creative inspiration more than likely is going to be manifesting as sudden epiphanies of awarenesses, ideas, things like that, which, by the way, we do have, aside from having a prominence of air elements showing up around this full moon, we also have a prominence of cardinal energy. So the cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and Cancer. And they are the signs that sort of herald in a new season. And so they're very connected to leadership, forward movement. And that's partially why there's this energy of new beginnings showing up right now. And so the mental energy that we're talking about with the air energy, the thoughts, the communication, and things like that, is showing up really in both of these cards because the swords in the tarot represent the element of air and mental energy. So when the Eight of Swords comes up, it can indicate paralyzing indecision. But this is what I'm seeing. I feel like we've all been in a space of indecisiveness because we were in Mercury retrograde. Mercury is direct now, right? So we're coming out of a period of uncertainty or indecisiveness. And then the Justice card reversed invites us to really tap in deep to our own sense of inner truth, our inner wisdom. And the reason I say that is because the Justice card is about integrity, honesty, truthfulness, right? And so when it comes up reversed, sometimes it can come up reversed when we need to get back on track with our integrity or our honesty, or where we've sort of gone askew in that regard. But then in other times, it can be a gentle reminder for us to tap back into what our inner truth is. And when I'm looking at the astrology that's happening this week to, just of course inform the energy, with these swords coming up, it feels like one, letting go of shadow thinking, worries, fears, concerns that are connected to more fear-based energies, thoughts that are connected to the fears of the what ifs. We want to let go of that and get back on track with where our ambition is, where our enthusiasm is, which we can understand that more deeply when not only we have the clarity of mind, but clarity of soul and heart. So integrating really mind, body, soul is what's coming up with these 3 cards this week. So a really good practice for all of us would be to move forward in this week with that sort of underlying theme of remaining harmonized. We've all been efforting towards that over the past several months, really since April, since Pluto went retrograde. And now we have an opportunity to sort of emerge from that and live based on that balance in some way, shape, or form for all of us. Individually, life is giving us opportunity to express ourselves from that integrated, balanced space, and to practice being able to remain in that despite what's going on around us. So, stay tapped in along those lines this week. Be aware of how life is giving you opportunity to be empowered and to strengthen that feeling of empowerment even more with your own internal mind, body, spirit balance, which again is also connected to the Libra energy happening with the Sun and Venus right now as well. Calling in and claiming that holistic, harmonized you, and moving forward into eclipse season from that space is what's going to enable us to ultimately make the most of the energies that are showing up with the eclipse season, which I'm going to be making videos about in the next week or 2. So I feel like I'm going to wrap it up there for now, guys. Share with me whatever you would love to share in the comments about how you're experiencing the energy of this full moon, or questions that you have about this eclipse season that we're coming into with Scorpio season and the new moon in 2 more weeks. If you have questions about that or anything that you would love for me to address in future videos as we're coming in to the eclipse season, definitely just, comment, shoot me a comment in the area below, and I will put it on my list to respond in a future video. Okay, guys, blessings to you. All my love. Namaste. I'll see you around the corner in the next video.